Hey folks, it's Steve from M4 again, just with a little informational video regarding a macerator toilet that we have in our RV. It is a Saniflow SN4 071, and we were having some issues with it flushing consistently. You would push, it's an electronic macerator toilet. The reason this RV has to have a macerator is that the toilet is not right over the tank. So it plumbs it out the back of the toilet, down the wall, and into the tank. You can't run a standard drop tank in this setup. No problems with it. Functionally, we like the way it works when it works, but it started having issues. And Saniflow was responsive on warranty requests and has sent out parts. And I want to show you the parts. And if anybody else is having similar issues, this might help you out. But basically, whether you flushed eco or you pushed normal, and this has a push button control on it, it would fill up. And what's supposed to happen is it's supposed to fill with water, and then the pump goes a little bit, the macerator pump, which pumps the debris out of the toilet and also chops it at the same time. In that same cycle, it's supposed to do that 3 times. What would happen is the water would go up, and you could hear the motor run on the macerator, but it wouldn't complete or push the debris out. And so then you would push normal again, and the water would come up again. You'd push normal again. It would flush the 3 times or go through the 3 cycles again and fill up with water. And now it's getting to the top of the toilet. You're wasting a lot of water when you're boondocking. And then finally, at that end of that cycle, the macerator would get enough momentum to run it all the way down normally. A couple times nervous whether it was actually going to run. You could hold down the empty button and get it to go as well, which is a workaround. But so I contacted them and told them the symptoms, sent them a video of that showed it filling up, whether it was on echo or normal mode. And their diagnostic is that it is the pump that's having an issue and not the controller. We'll see. We'll swap out the pump, and then if I still have a problem, it could be the cycling of the controller. The controller is, and I've already loosened the toilet in here and moved it forward. It is a Sanimarin. So there's only 2 screws that go into the side that hold it to the base, and then you can move the whole thing forward. There is a controller. That's the controller, and there's only 2 wires that go to the pad, so all the logic has to be in the controller itself. This controller was mounted inside the back of the toilet by the OEM. Instead, when I remount it, I'm going to put it outside, and it's going to hang out and be visible a little bit, but then the wires are going to be accessible, because if you are in a situation where the pump's not running at all and the controller has an issue, it could just hot wire the macerator power and ground, which is 12 volts in this application, put a jump box to it, and evacuate the toilet. So it's doable that way. The seawater is not used on this one. Solenoid valve is the water going into the toilet. Your main power source, your macerator or pump, which is all one unit. And then the signals for the tanks, which is another issue when they're accurate or not accurate, but they're fine once you understand how they work. And then the control panel with the 2 wires. And the grounds kind of go together from the tank signals and the control panel all into one thing here. Other thing I'm going to do is, I don't know if you can see it, the wires are a little long, so I'm going to trim those back and tighten them up a little bit, just clean it up a little bit, and then ultimately mount it here. So moving this forward and out of the way, we can move it up a little bit to get to everything to take it off, and once I'm ready to do that, we'll get the gloves on and all that good stuff to keep the people happy that are freaked out about that. But this thing has been pumping out, so I've been pumping a lot of water through it, so there shouldn't be anything gross debris-wise in there. If you've changed a diaper, you could probably handle switching out a pump on a toilet. The water feed from the RV is here, and this has a 90-degree fitting. And since I'm in here and I have the toilet forward, I'm going to put a T on that, and I picked up a non-powered water-only bidet attachment that goes underneath the existing toilet seat. So I'm going to put a different T in there while it's out. Otherwise, all you have to do is disconnect the power lines. You have to disconnect this water line, which has a screw connection on the back. I'm going to show you that. And you have to connect the waste line. The waste line, you got to be careful it doesn't get kinked. And right now it might look a little kinked just because it's pulled out. But once this is in the wall, it sits back in there, and you just got to make sure that there aren't any kinks on the waste line. Okay, so this is what they sent me as a replacement part, which is a complete pump assembly, but it also has all the tubes with it, has the power control, everything's here. So basically everything that's inside that lower tank is going to get replaced. Super simple how this works. Basically there's just a vacuum port at the top to keep it from getting, so it can suck air in when it needs to when you're flushing. This one is the output from the toilet, connects right to your flush bowl. The debris, when you push a button, goes down into the macerator, or I should say the macerator runs and pulls the debris into it. It chops it. It has a large motor, and then the debris in small pieces goes up through the exit line and then goes out to the RV waste. Super simple. The only other connections are the water connections, and for those, your water connection goes into the bottom here from the RV through their fitting. There is a small screen here, so we'll have to check the old one to make sure that that wasn't restricted at all. I don't think it was filling up fine. And then so when you activate the controller and it pushes the water pump or the pump function, all it does is turns that one on and pumps water up this tube and into the top part of the toilet. And there's a small fitting that goes on there to do that, and this is crimped or banded onto it. So here is the fitting that goes into the top of the toilet to supply the water there. Basically it's a barb fitting, and they give you the standard OEM style crimps. I do not have the crimping tool for that style crimp, so instead I'm going to use regular band clamps. I'm going to make sure that they're seated all the way around, stainless steel ones, and make sure they have a good seal and check them and double check them. They've been using these for years and years. It's not any hard tubing like PEX or anything on any of them. It's all reinforced nylon, so it's a softer hose, so these should just do just fine on this connection, as well as the T that I'm adding for the bidet. So right now there's just a 90-degree fitting at the wall like this. It's made out of plastic. Brass was easier to find the right connections to put this together to make it work with the bidet hose. These barb fittings will go exactly where the OEM ones are now, and then a standard stainless hose that comes with the bidet will connect to that end and then connect to the bidet attachment. The bidet that I got is inexpensive, Brondell. The reviews were good. I have no experience with it. I have no affiliation with it. It's just what was there and looked like it would work easy enough with the existing lid. It does not replace the whole lid, basically, and it's a little hard to see here, but it goes around underneath the toilet seat. It's got the two sprayers, and then it has an arm here that you rotate forward or back to go front or back sprayer. And other than a hose on the bottom, super simple. You're not getting heated water. The water in this RV is stored underneath a bed, so it's not super cold, and all the other fancy heat functions like the heated seats and everything else. We haven't had that before on the standard macerator, so we're not going to miss it. So back to the pump, just so you can see what's going on inside. Debris coming out of the toilet here. It's being drawn into the macerator, and I am going to pop this off. And essentially the debris goes into the front of this. It cuts it up with sharp blades and also pumps it out this hose all in one. These are the blades why you do not want to use any standard toilet paper. These are why you do not want to use wipes, Kleenex, towels, anything other than septic compatible toilet paper that breaks down, or RV toilet paper that breaks down super easy. And if you use the right stuff, this shouldn't get plugged. We've never used the wrong stuff in this one, so after I get that one out, I'm going to go ahead and take it apart, but I'm anticipating it should be fine. I'm not sure why the motor, they feel, is not, doesn't have enough oomph to start the pumping process, but we'll look to see if there's any design differences. Alright, so you're going to have a little background noise because it's hot in here, so I got the generator running. I got the air conditioner going to get it a little bit cooler. I'm going to go ahead. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to show everything live while I take this out. It's pretty straightforward, but I do have a towel, an old towel, to catch water. I did run, the pump is for sure off. I ran all the water out of the faucet, but I also went to the outside connection for the shower connector, and or outside wash-up connector, whatever you want to call it. Outside shower is the lowest faucet in the group, so I ran the cold out of that and made sure no water came out. There is going to be a little bit of water coming out of the water feed pipe. I understand that, and that's what I'll catch with the towel. So I'm going to do that first. Now those have those crimp clamps on there too. I've heard that the easiest way to take them off is just to cut them with a Dremel, with a little cutting wheel, and I have that, so I'm going to go ahead and do it that way. I've had to take them off before and use cutters and stuff, and it gets kind of messy. There is a specific tool to take them off, but it's pricey, and I really don't need it all the time, so I wasn't going to get that. Then it's just taking, and I'll get this pipe as low as possible to get as much drainage out of it before I do it, and disconnect the band clamp here, because that's exactly where the other part ends, so that'll connect to that. And then the water pipe that goes onto the bottom of the toilet with a fitting there, I'll be taking that off. I do need to still figure out how the pump itself is held in place inside the back of the toilet. You can't see that, I understand. Once I get this whole thing out the door, so it's going to be easier to work, and if it spills at all, easier to clean up if it's outside and not as nasty. So I'll try to switch out the pump mechanism outside. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and you should pull the main power before you do any of this too, but I'm going to take the lines that are going to the macerator and water pump themselves, which macerator are going to be the larger wires. So that one's set, and then I guess the solenoid valve is just a water on and off valve. It's not actually a pump, so it has two white wires, so they should be non-polarity. All it's doing is opening and closing the water valve. That does require a little tiny screwdriver to go in there, but now the control panel is out of the way, and you got the 4 wires on the harness that go into the back of the pump assembly separate. Okay, so my GoPro Hero 9 was going a little haywire there. I think the battery might be having some sort of issue, but just in case we didn't get that, I took the harness off of the controller. It's the 4 wires. The 2 white ones go to the water solenoid. All it does is turn it on and off. The larger red and black one are going to the macerator or pump, all one unit. and they're positive and negative as it is marked on here. It takes a little screwdriver. Some of those were tight. Now I'm going to go and work on cutting off the band clamps. I've heard the cutting wheel is the best way to do it, right over the cross of the back where it's crimped on. So I have a small cutting wheel on my Dremel tool, and we'll try to accomplish that and make not too much of a mess. I'm going to put this towel back here and underneath, so any extra water hopefully is going to get caught in the towel as I tweak this around, trying to get the right angle. Perfect. There's one of them. This here just cut on the back of it. So now I'll get some the screwdriver in there or whatever and pop that clamp off. Now my goal is to do this other one, and then I'll pull the hoses apart at one time. This one I'm going to have to kind of tweak around here in order to get the right angle. Alright, I do have some pliers that are a little less abusive to the hose, or don't have any grip on them or anything like that. So, and the plastic doesn't matter so much on the 90 because I'm not going to be reusing it. So there's one side off, and there's the cut clamp. There we go. So there's the 90 that I'm going to be replacing with the brass T with the connection for the bidet hose. And so the hose that goes to the solenoid can stay on here until I get everything out, and that'll just transfer over to the other one. So I'm going to make sure as much water is out of this T as possible, so I'm going to turn it upside down, and then I'm going to put it right side up again. That should have made all the any fluid that was stuck in here go up and over and out over there. But I have a flathead screwdriver on the band clamp. They actually use band clamps on the rest of these rubber hoses too. And I'm just going to take the band clamp off. And that's it. That's going to go into the new one. We'll keep that up high. Nothing's coming out of it. It's just water in there. So now the entire toilet is actually free. Easy enough to carry out. There is a bunch of debris, which is just sawdust and stuff underneath the toilet, behind the toilet, from the original build of the RV. So I'll go ahead and clean all that up too. Alright, I got it out. I got a line on its side so I can get to the bottom. I can get to the back. I have a flashlight here, and I'm going to be working. It looks like basically it's held in by these two rubber straps, almost like bungees that hold the bottom on, and beyond that it's just held on by the hose clamp here, and that's it. There's the fill hose, and the vent is definitely different on the old one versus the new one. It's shorter, a little bit different design. The tip kind of looks the same, but that's different. And then we'll look at the motor itself once it's out to see whether there's any size changes or anything like that. But it sure looks like all I need to do is take this off. Take this off. Let's just go onto the pump. It's fun to do with one hand, and all they are is little hooks that hold the motor forward. And then I'll get that band clamp off and pull it out. Get the driver in from the bottom. And the band clamp just comes off the back. Nothing going on here mess-wise. This whole water fill just pulled it out. And I don't know if you saw that. Everything just comes out the bottom. So looking at the two of them again, that's the new one. The new one, the pump is marked for, it's marked a little bit different. It is a 12 volt but 300 watt, and it has that build date on it. The old one is only marked with the date, which is probably the 4th week of, or the 4th month of 2022. It has a voltage but doesn't have a amperage or wattage rating. The exhaust looks pretty much the same. The feed pretty much looks the same. The pump is obviously slightly different, and then the number one thing is the vent hose is different. That's the new one. The old one's actually taller, and I don't know whether it breathes different or not. So I'm just going to put the new one back into the bottom of the toilet and see where we're at. Okay, again, you're probably not going to see all that much here, but you can get the band clamp on the port that goes to the porcelain, which comes from the emptying the bowl. There we go. There's a nut driver. It fits it. Nice and tight. I'm going to double check that. Hard to see again, but these lines are going to go around and onto these hooks here, which I know this is horrible. And there's one that's going to go on the other side. I'm not going to be able to hold the camera at the same time and do it, but I'm going to get this hook onto. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this back up a little bit, because I think this vent, I want to get it on the right side so the pump's more centered, and then the water line going up to the top isn't going to be interfering as much with the vent. So I'm just going to loosen that up a little bit. I'm going to rotate it just enough, and it's got some flexibility in the hose and stuff here, so that's not a problem. And once this is hanging, after it's sitting upright, the pump's going to be hanging straight down more. The line going up here has a put a clamp on. Pretty straightforward. Good torque on that, and then this just needs to go back into the porcelain. Like so. So that lines up nicely. The only other thing I need to take off this old pump is the feed line, and that just unscrews off of it, and the hose is already pre-cut to the size of the RV, and I'll just transfer that over to this feed line. I had mentioned I did want to look at the old pump and look at the filter, and I don't know if you can see that the filter going into the pump is clear. There's no debris or anything in it, so that was all good there. I'll probably take the cap off this other one. What the heck, let's do it now, just to see if there are any issues, and I don't know whether you're going to have the angle here or not. So if anything's going to be a yuck factor, now would be the time. And when you look, it's not dirty. The macerator looks fine. Obviously it's got water in there. The blades look similar. I don't see a big difference unless there's more torque in the motor or that vent. But nothing stuck in there, no paper, no string, no nothing in there, so that was all good. And also while I'm here, there's no reason having, and you can't even see it in the photo, but the old motor and the new one have about 4 feet of line. I'm going to go ahead and reduce that to a reasonable amount. They can still be tucked into the wall, but it really doesn't need to be that long where it keeps wrapping around and around. Much more reasonable. Twist those up so they're tight once we get them back into the control module. One other part I failed to mention before, and this is the new one, that's on the end of that pipe is the one-way valve. The other one I didn't take off yet, so I'm going to take that one off because we're going to use a new one, but there's just a rubber flap in there so water can go down, but it can't come back up if you're in the event of like a tank that's overflowed or whatever. It's not going to keep coming back up, but mostly that's for pumping situations, like in a boat where you're pumping the sewage uphill and you don't want it coming back into the toilet. That would keep it from doing that. But it's still in place in the RV, even though the tank is below the toilet or off to the side, but at a lower elevation than the toilet. So typical to some of the home projects, my barb for my bidet cut off. My barbs are too, or my T for my bidet cut off, the barbs are too small, so I had to go run to the store and get larger ones. They're going to be a little bit tighter. The ones that were in there are maybe slightly smaller, different type. But these are going to go in, they're going to seal with the band clamps and everything. So I had to make a quick adjustment and get that. The area is cleaned up for the most part and prepped. I'm just going to go ahead and put the T in here. And then we'll place the toilet back in. Okay, so that's where I'm going to go ahead and mount the controller. Reason being, if the controller needs to be replaced, it's easier to get to. It will peak just outside. If you look around the bottom of the toilet, don't care. But like I was saying, if a controller went out or a panel went out, you could always supply power from jump box directly to the macerator and be able to clear the toilet. So that's my main reason I'd want to be able to get to. I have everything in place other than the toilet pushed back over the stops and screwed back in. The water lines are all connected. The water pump is on. The waste lines are all connected. Going to check here just for a few minutes to make sure that there aren't any water line leaks. Just feel for any wetness around those. Look on your fingers after you touch them with dry fingers, see if there's any wetness with water, and then I'm going to flush it a few times and see what's going on flush wise. I need to make sure that those pipes are not kinked when I do it, and we'll see what happens. But after I'm sure nothing is leaking, then I'll get it back into place against the wall and screw it down. And by the way, I did not cover installing the bidet attachment. Basically it just goes underneath your existing lid. They have very good detailed videos on the website associated with that one. I picked that up at Lowe's, so they had the video embedded on that. But and like I said, reviews are good, but I have no idea what it's going to do or how everything's going to work. Okay, I'll bolt it back in. Didn't see any leaks or anything like that. I do have to watch that controller because you can surprise yourself. If there's kids or anything like that, you got to be careful that they're not going to do it. There's the controller for the toilet now on the outside. If you need an emergency, get to the wires. You can do that, but you really can't see it when walking in. And let's see what we get. Do a normal flush. And it's filling. They said it should have about 3 cycles like that. And that it went down the very first time right away is a good sign. It wasn't doing that before. So that's a normal cycle. Let's do a normal again, just to see if it does it again and flushes right away. It's filling. And it's flushing, and it's flushing strong. So whatever changed in the pump, the old pump looked fine, but maybe it's the vent allowing the water to get moving faster or something. I don't think any of the tubes were pinched. I had looked at that before, but it definitely is flushing better than it was before putting all that in. One more time, this is normal flush. Filling. Flushing. Beautiful. It's working the way it's supposed to. Thank you, Saniflow, for sending the parts. And it was under the 2-year standard warranty. We're in the system. I think that'll extend to 4 years once you're registered in the system. But thank you very much for the parts. It looks like it resolved the problem. I was able to do the work myself instead of getting a tech involved. So no big deal there. And onward. Normal. Three fills, no flush. Normal. Three fills, no flush. Normal. Third time it flushed.